programming or something.
Yeah, yeah. In Canada, at least.
And you're in Montreal?
Exact. Yeah, I'm in a no-name school, I'd say. It's like a French school, École de Technologie
Yeah.
Supérieure. And exactly, we have like one class that is focused on algorithms, because
And your classmates are involved in like leak coding and stuff, or is it not common?
it's not even popular. Like I'm trying to like make competitive programming more popular, but I guess all my peers are more focused on like cybersecurity, like in the club I'm in, or otherwise people are just like doing the bare minimum, I guess, not really studying outside of class and like getting whatever job it's offered to them. Like
Yeah.
it's like people are not as much competitive as like in the US or otherwise from over
Yeah.
here. It's like people are more chill and like doing their job, but then like resting, not like overdoing it, I guess.
Yeah, I've been freelancing like all of my career. I've never really been employed in the tech world by,
Oh,
like
really?
a full-time employee.
Damn, that's hot. So, what kind of project did you do?
I started out making spam bots like
Nice.
for, like webcam girls and stuff.
Wait, what? How do you make money off of that?
Um, it's basically affiliate marketing. So if somebody signs up from the link that you sent, you get a percentage of that sale. So I was just making chatbots that would tell people to sign up on a webcam site.
Okay, okay.
That's how I started my programming career, and then
So you're the guy swiping right on me on Tinder.
yeah, yeah, that was a long time ago though. I actually stopped doing it about 4 years ago, 5 years maybe,
Oh man,
and then
that's
I transitioned into like web development, and now I'm doing app development. So I'm working in React Native now.
okay. Okay, cool.
I build apps sometimes. Sometimes I do random things like consult companies if they're having issues with their code, or they need something built, or they don't even know what they want built. They just want to get something done, and they want
They
some
have extra
consultancy.
cash and they want to give it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, like they tell me their problems and I try and come up with a technical solution for them.
Oh, I see. So,
But
what's your plan for the future? Do you want to keep freelancing? Do you want to like it?
oh no, I do not want to freelance. I want to work for top tech.
Hmm.
So, basically Fang and anything below also.
Yeah, yeah. And what's wrong with freelancing? You don't like it?
Uh yeah, I'm tired of it. I want to have like coworkers and
Hmm.
that whole office life. But since COVID, there's no more office life, so I guess
Back to
I don't
square
know.
one.
Yeah, but I'd still like to work for a company, maybe be a part of a team, like a consistent team. Working with other people, I think, is a big reason why I want to transition from freelancing.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see
I
like
guess,
the social aspect is lacking.
yeah, yeah, it's a bit lonely when I'm freelancing and like as a solo freelancer.
Okay, I see.
All right. So,
We'll start in like 3 minutes, I guess.
all right. What kind of problem you gonna ask me, man?
I think it's not that hard. Maybe you already solved it. It's like one of the more popular interview questions, I'd say. I'm trying to go over all the popular interview questions before like going
Okay.
into obscure questions, because I think it's more useful to people watching. to like actually see people that I mean, to actually see questions they might be asked in an interview.
Yeah.
So like hopefully it shouldn't be too hard. It should be doable since they do ask it in interviews.
Yeah.
And like if you're completely lost, well, it's only a practice interview, so we can see like strategies you could apply in like a real interview and such. It's
Yep.
more.
I'm I'm fine with even if I bomb it, really, you know.
We're all
This
in
is why
this
I'm doing
together,
it.
right?
Yeah, I try and take those contests every week. I've never been able to solve all four on the leak code, you know.
Yeah, sometimes they're
Sometimes
so
sometimes I
hard.
only get one.
Yeah, I did one like for the bi-weekly. I was like so tired. I just like woke up and I wanted my
Oh
league
yeah.
coins. I just did the easy one and went back to sleep. Like
Oh yeah. No,
it happens. Yeah.
I did really bad on the bi-weekly.
Hmm.
I I got the first one and then TLE on the second one and then the third one I don't know. I guess I was also sleepy because it was in the morning and I stay up really late.
Yeah, same.
So that was a tough one for me. How long have you been competitive programming or leak coding?
Lead coding, I did like a few questions here and there before I had interviews, but I never really like committed to it. Like I maybe like discovered what lead code was like 1 year ago, maybe. But I think I started like doing competitive programming more seriously when I just like found out what binary search was, and I was just curious. I never like planned to do it. I just like ended up grinding for no reason.
Yeah.
I guess I have nothing better to do. Like when you're in school and you're
Oh,
bored, you want
yeah.
some extra challenge. I can check in my history. Yeah, I had like few
Oh, wow.
submissions in like 2019, and then
Super
there.
consistent.
Yeah, that's because of the monthly
COVID.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
COVID.
yeah.
I want to get my free T-shirt, at like 6,000
Yeah.
coins.
How
I'm
many
pretty
coins
hyped.
are you at right now?
I'm at 4,300, like so close.
Oh, almost,
Yeah,
almost.
I'm getting excited, but it's still gonna take like a few months at least. All right, I
Yeah.
think we can get started. Is everybody ready?
All right.
Hell yeah! All right, let's see. So the question I will be asking you today is the following. So I'm just gonna paste it here. So, so the question is number of islands. Have you heard of this question before?
I'm supposed to say no, right?
So you did, right? It's
I
fine.
have
It's fine.
never seen this question before. I don't.
No, it's important to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they admire honesty, and if you're like super fast, it will transpire. So I'll read it out for
Yeah.
you, and like
Okay.
even if you already solved it, I think focus on like trying to communicate how to solve it. Even though like
Okay.
if you know how to do it, if you can't convey like your logic to me, like it won't be as good as if you just like take it slow and explain it. So we'll start by by reading it. So given a matrix with two matrices of ones and zeros, return the number of islands in the matrix. So a 1 represents land and 0 represents water. So an island is a group of ones that are neighboring whose perimeter is surrounded by water. So here we have an example. So there's like 4 chunks of ones like this. So one in the corner, one in the middle, and 2 other islands in the bottom corners. So the neighbors can only be horizontal or vertical, but not diagonal. So here we have some constraints. They're not really important for the interview. We just want to do the most optimal solution we can think of. So I guess we can remove this. And here we have some sample outputs. or inputs and outputs if you want to use them to test. So here's example 1 and example 2, and here's a smaller example. So is that enough context for you to begin, or do you need further explanation?
All right. I think I get the gist of this problem because of course I've seen this one before.
Oh, that's cool.
I guess how would I begin? Would I just start saying my approach for solving it? Should I be asking questions? Let's see.
Yeah, you don't
Do
want
I
to.
have to, can I modify the matrix in place
Yeah, I can
and stuff like that?
allow it. Yeah, I'd allow
All
you
right.
to modify the matrix, and yeah, it's a better idea to like do some kind of pseudocode or like explain your logic to the interviewer before just coding.
Okay. So for this problem, I think I'll take a DFS approach.
Okay.
I will iterate through each cell in the matrix, and whenever I see a 1, I will DFS into that 1, and it will go in and find all ones that's touching it. And
Mhm.
then I'll probably add all of those cells from that DFS into some sort of scene matrix
Okay.
or modify the original matrix itself. And then I will increment a counter. Should I be like typing out? It's hard without like a whiteboard, you
Yeah, I
know.
know what you mean. You can try
So
your best, but of course, it's not the same as being able to draw it. But I think your explanation is pretty clear to me, at least.
yeah, so for example, in this matrix here, I'll iterate through each cell, and here there's a 1. So I'll DFS into it, and maybe I'll change all scene cells to a value of 2 or something so that I don't revisit cells and recount them. And it will go in, it will skip the zeros. And then here's another 1. So it will go in and DFS into this. Then all touching ones will turn into a 2 to mark it as seen. And the answer will increment. So the answer would be 2 right here. And then it will keep on traversing the matrix until it sees another 1. And then it will DFS that 1, change all those island numbers into 2s to mark it as seen, and then increment the amount, and then it will have the answer at the end. So I guess I'll go ahead and start coding this.
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
Uh, should I put in
You
into
can
the main, or
you can write a new
should I
function that takes a matrix.
okay, and returns an integer?
Hmm.
So I'll call it number of islands, and take a vector of vector matrix, right?
Yeah, sure.
Does that look good?
Hmm.
That's our only input, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so first, um, let's see. Uh, initialize my answer as an int to 0, and then I will loop through each cell in the matrix. But first, going through each row. So if r equals 0, r less than matrix size, r plus plus, c equals 0, c less than matrix r dot size, c plus plus. And then if the cell is a 1, that means we have encountered an island, and I will DFS DFS that cell. So I'm going to go ahead and build the DFS function, and it will take parameters. It will take the matrix, and it will take R and C for row and column. So the coordinate of the cell it's going to start the DFS at. And I guess I'll also pass my answer as a reference so I can modify that from the DFS function.
Do you really need
So
to do that though?
I could also have it as a global variable, but either way, which one would you prefer?
I mean, you don't really need to, like, according to what you explained to me at the beginning, you just
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah. I don't. You're right. You're actually 100% right. I could just increment here because that is 100% correct. I see what you're saying. So for a DFS function, first I'll check to see whether R and C are within bounds. We'll go if R is less than 0 or uh, R is greater than equal to matrix the size, then we'll just return and do nothing. And also if C is less than 0 or if it's greater than the matrix R size, which is the row size, then also return. And I guess if matrix RC is equal to 0, can return to, because nothing needs to be done.
mhm.
And, or 2, because I'll be marking scene cells with a 2 instead of a 1. I could also have a separate, like a scene matrix also that would work. But for this problem, I think modifying the original matrix works also.
Yeah, it's fine.
So from there, uh, we'll mark the matrix cell as seen by changing it to a 2 because it's, and then now we'll do our directions. So DFS R plus 1 and it's 4 directions. R minus 1, that would be R plus 1 would be down, R minus 1 would be up. C plus 1 would be to the right, and C minus 1 would be to the left. And that's going to go in and check every adjacent cell and find out whether they're ones, whether they're like an extension of the original island. And then it will increment the answer for every one it's seen. That should be the number of islands for the most part. Unless I have some kind of typo. Let's see here.
I mean, can you prove that it works?
Can I prove that it works?
Like, yeah, using tests?
Um, besides this input test here, the example ones, like new tests,
Yeah, sure, like edge cases or such.
edge cases are always good to check. I always do poorly on those. Uh, let's see, if our matrix was nothing, so just empty, would that work? Well, it wouldn't. The matrix wouldn't even go into this for loop because 0 is less than, right? Yeah, it wouldn't even trigger in this for loop and the answer would just be 0.
Yeah. That's good.
Um, if there are no ones, that means there's no islands in the matrix. So if it was just a bunch of zeros, I think that would also work because this if statement would never get triggered and the answer will never increment. And then if it's just a bunch of random islands, or if it's just one big island, I guess that would be a good edge case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just copy these over. Let's just do four. No, let's just do all, right? So if they're all ones, then for the very first cell, the DFS will go in from the first cell, and first it's going to check the row below. So let's iterate. So this is going to change to a 2. The row above is out of bounds, so it will just return without doing anything. The cell to the right would be changed. Well, I guess that's not really the way the DFS would work because it would go into the row below and then go from that row, right? So it would go 2, and then it would go to the row below 2, and it basically would change all the ones to twos. And
Mm-hmm.
then when this happens, there are no more ones in the matrix, so this if statement will never get triggered again, and the answer will only be incremented one time for the one big island. Um, pretty confident that this would work. Side of some small error,
Like,
maybe like a semicolon missing, or
could you like run it with some tests?
all right, let's try to do that. I've never done this before in C++ because I just pressed the button on LeetCode, but it, it's good. It's good practice. Let's make a vector. Hmm. Uh, vector int matrix. Do I have to include this somewhere up top?
I'm not sure actually.
Yeah,
Uh,
neither am I.
it's like a hashtag include a vector or something. It will throw an error if it doesn't. It's fine.
Yeah, there we go. And or do I have to bring this up above it, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Starting to come together. It's um so that would just be one big island, and then we can do C out number of islands matrix. Did I do that?
You don't need to.
Yeah, I don't need all of that stuff. I don't know why it also completed.
Mm-hmm.
Did I spell that? I'm not. Oh, this has to be above it. Yeah,
Oh, you can put
that's
a prototype as well. That works. That works too.
yeah, yeah. This works for now. All right. So how do I run it on this thing?
You just have the button.
Oh, the run button up
Yeah,
top.
and it
Okay, so
returns
it
one.
sees out 1. Let's make this more interesting now. So how about let's give it some islands. So that's clearly 2 separate islands. Let's see what is there. That's 2. Uh,
Yeah.
Let's let's give it uh, no islands. About that. That's a good edge case to test. We'll just erase these. 0.
Yeah,
All
good.
right. Uh, let's give it an empty matrix. Oh yeah, 0.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you nailed it. So, what would be the
Okay.
time and space complexity of this solution?
Okay. So our time complexity, it would be O of mn, where m is rows and n is columns, I think, because it has to check every cell first in this algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So worst case scenario, it checks every single cell. And I believe that's O of m and n, or n squared if it's a square matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And the space complexity, since I'm modifying the original matrix in place, it does not use any extra space. But if I were to use a scene matrix, like a Boolean matrix or something, then it would be O of n squared also space,
Yeah.
or O of nm space.
So actually, there's like a little trap here because you have to consider the space that is taken by the recursive calls of the
Uh,
DFS. So like,
does You're right. I was not taking that into consideration. So with that, I guess the space is not constant in that case. It would be the same as if I had used a scene matrix, right? So it'd be O of mn space also, or I guess the max recursive recursion limit.
mhm, yeah,
Is that usually considered extra space in an interview?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, if you if you iterate over like a tree recursively, like you have to consider like each stack frame that you explore.
Okay.
It's
All
just like
right.
hidden from you, but there's a stack underneath, so it does matter.
And
Because if your stack overflows, then you have a problem.
yes, you do have a major problem.
Yeah. So if you want to like validate on, I can give you the link, the solution on binary search. There's like one thing while you were solving it that I looked about like the problem statement that I was wondering if you'd see. The problem statement says that for an island to be an island, it has to be a group of ones, and the whole perimeter has to be surrounded by water. But like for the example where it's all ones, there's no water around it because it's touching the borders of the matrix.
Oh no.
So I
Solve
think
the wrong problem.
that would be like if you had this question in an interview, it would be like a bonus point to ask your interviewer if you consider the exterior of the matrix as water, or if it's like not surrounded by water, then if it touches the edge, it's not considered island. But I think on like lead code or binary search, you have to consider it as an island. So I let
Yeah,
it pass anyways.
I guess I was solving the wrong problem then. Uh,
No, yeah, it's fine. I think that's
oh,
the expected solution. I was just curious, like the problem statement says that it has to be surrounded by water.
okay. So I should modify my answer for that because I was not taking that into consideration at all.
But before you do that, try to submit it. Wait a second on binary search. Since we only have a few test cases, we can validate that the solution is actually it's a number of islands.
Yeah. If the islands have to be completely surrounded by water, then this is gonna be wrong for sure.
Yeah. Do you have an idea how you
Yeah,
would solve that problem?
I do. I'd say if at anywhere in that DFS it goes out of bounds, so if the row is less than zero or
Mm-hmm.
greater than, then I would probably pass down a flag, I'd say. Maybe like uh is island or something. And I'll have that equal to true and pass down a bool, and then if it's out of bounds, then I'll change that to a false. And then before I increment here, the ans plus plus, I will check if the ones was in fact an island. So if is island is true, then increment the answer. And if it's not, then do nothing. I think that should take care of the edge islands or the non-islands by
Mm-hmm.
using that flag, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And then I guess we could test that. Uh, so this test right here, it has two land masses, but one is an island and one is, I guess, a continent.
Yeah, sure.
And so our answer should be one. And let's move this one to an island. That should be two.
Yeah,
All
good.
right. And let's make no islands, but that should be zero, right?
Yeah.
All
Nice.
right.
Okay. Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
that was just a question I was wondering about if that was actually the correct solution because it seems like it's not how you're supposed to solve it on the coding platforms. Because like
Which the this one here, the surrounded by water part.
yeah, exactly. Because if you look at the example outputs on like binary search, like the example, all the land masses are touching the edge, but you still consider it. So it's like a semantic question. I'm asking myself if the problem statement is correct, but overall you did pretty well on that question.
All right.
So maybe like a few points I'd say is like I'd prefer if I didn't have to like ask like can you test this or like what's the time complexity. If you manage to like have those reflexes to like start testing before the interviewer has to say anything, basically like guess what the interviewer wants and try to do it before he has to ask you. It's like
Okay.
it shows like a proactive, I guess, energy on your part. Like you have
Yes.
this habit of like testing your solutions like in the real work you do, and you have the habit of like finding out the complexity to make sure like it's correct given a certain constraints. So like it's fine. You won't get like rejected if like the interviewer has to guide you. But I think like the less the interviewer has to do, and the more he can just like admire the work you're doing during the interview, and you can like take control of the interview in some
Yeah.
extent, like
Makes sense.
it's better for you, I'd say. Like the more
Definitely.
you show some leadership. But I think overall you did like pretty good, and like you didn't have any real hiccups while implementing. Like, and it's a pretty popular question. So if you ever get this, I think you'll do fine. So
Yeah. This was one of the very first DFS problems I tackled,
okay, okay. So it's
and
fun to your
I've
heart.
never forgotten how to do it.
Yeah. So I might have a bigger challenge for you. So this is the bonus part I was mentioning. But do you have any other questions for this problem before we move on? It's fine.
I think maybe I challenge myself to try and solve it BFS or something.
Yeah, if
I've
if you
never
want
done that.
to, if you want to like
I,
experiment,
I
it's
don't
fine.
I don't really want to, but I was just thinking that to myself. It would be a good exercise, but I'll do that on my own time.
Yeah, makes sense. You just have to pick like your favorite style, I guess, for like interviewing.
Yeah.
Like some questions you can't really do with DFS, you have to use BFS, but like other than
Yep.
that, it's fine. It doesn't really matter, I think, in this case. So yeah. So I'm really curious what's gonna happen. Like this question I'm about to ask you, I have no idea how I would solve it in C++ because I like abuse of like Python magic. So so I
Okay.
wish you some good luck. So the question is called, maybe you've seen it as well. It's some kind of successor to the current one. It's called Distinct Islands. So let me copy
Oh,
the. Have you heard of it?
distinct islands.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
spooky. So I'll copy it under, I guess,
that
here.
sounds tough.
Yeah, it is really tough. So, so challenge question. You probably, I say probably, will not be asked this in an interview setting, but since you like nailed the first problem, like I guess
Ooh,
interviewers will always have some follow-ups that are harder to like challenge you because basically it doesn't really matter what you like if you manage to solve a problem in an interview. It more matters how you compare to like the other people that's being interviewed, because like if everybody is really bad, and it's because like the problem is tough. But like if everybody like applying for a job is like really good, then like you have to have some way of distinguishing the
yeah.
people applying.
Hmm.
So let me read it for you. So it's the same format. We're given like a matrix of island, but so given a two-dimensional integer matrix of ones and zeros, return the number of distinct islands in the matrix. So same thing as before, a 1 represents land and 0 represents some water. So an island is a group of 1 that are neighboring whose perimeter is surrounded by water. So you don't have to worry about the edges of the matrix like I
Yeah.
mentioned before. We'll ignore that. Ignore that. So two islands are distinct if their shapes are different. So basically, if you have like a series of like three ones vertically like that, it's like a shape. If you have like squares like this, it's the same shape. So it's really if they have the same, they can fit one into another, that they have the same shape. So in this example, we have one island that is just one square. Then we have two islands that are 2 by 2, so they have the same shape, so they're only considered ones. Then you have that middle island that is a weird Tetris shape, I guess, that is also
Yep.
counted once. So the output is 3
Hmm.
because of that.
How would I solve this one? Um,
It's a little bit harder than the previous one.
well, right off the bat, I'm thinking of uh perhaps in the DFS from the first one, keep some kind of map or maybe map is the wrong word. Some yeah, like a list of directions that the DFS has traveled
Okay.
since the first uh entry point. So for example, in this Tetris looking one here, the DFS would start if I was to iterate through r equals 0 through the rows from left to right and the columns from top to bottom. I would always encounter uh, would I always encounter the top left the topmost leftmost part of the island first. So from there, I can map out where the DFS has traveled. So for this one, it would go, say, down. Maybe I'll do like down. That would be, maybe I'd have a string that would represent the islands. So for this, all right, let's start at this first one. It would just be, I guess, I'll use an E for entry, and it's just one. So any other island that's just one would just be an E.
Okay, okay.
So if I was to go into this Tetris looking one here, the it would be like an E, and then it would go down depending on how I write the DFS. But let's assume I travel down first. Then the next cell would be a D or down, and then there's no down, so it stops. And then there's no right, and it doesn't go back up, and then it goes left. So maybe it would be like left. And then it goes back to the entry, and then it would go right. Uh, perhaps that would work. Perhaps it
So I think
would have some type
I
of
wanna
collision
stop you there because
also.
I'm not sure
All right.
that would work. Because
Yeah, I'm.
let's say you have like I'm gonna write an example down here. You have like some. I'm gonna put some water here. So let's say you have one in the middle here, one like this, and one like this, and then I'm gonna put another island that is like this. Like this. So would the output of both islands be the same? Like you would have like down down left, and the second one would be down down, but you would like bubble up to the one in the middle and then go left, but the output would be the same. I think according to
I
it.
think there would also be some collisions, and different islands would end up having the same hashes. So perhaps that's not a viable option. Uh, hmm.
It's definitely a interesting path you could take. I think it's
Mm,
possible to make it work like that. But I find it
maybe.
really, really creative.
Yeah, I'd have to have. I'm not sure how that would work. You have to add in some type of numbers, like how far at how, or perhaps I'm not even sure if like I can have a set of sets
Yeah, you can.
and just so if I had I'm not even sure if a set of set works honestly, but let's pretend it does.
It does. I
Then
checked.
then the first entry would be 0 0 for like this single island, and the entry point will always be 0. So I guess let's make that looking like that, and then this Tetris island would be like 0 0, and then it goes down one row, so it'd be 1, but it's in the same column, 0, and then it would be a 1, -1, and a 0 and 1, and that would represent somehow. But then again, there might be, maybe I'd have to sort these.
Well, if it's
No,
a set,
no,
is there
no.
an order?
Uh, yeah. I'm not sure if this would work, but perhaps it's worth a try.
Yeah, sure.
But then maybe I should try and prove that it works before I actually code up anything, because that's what a real engineer would do, right?
Yeah, yeah. Imagine like
Hmm.
in a coding interview, you would start like coding a solution, and then you arrive at the end, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and
Like
it doesn't
imagine that
work.
the
And the guy is like looking at me the whole time, knowing it's not gonna work.
But yeah,
Yeah.
most interviewers would stop you if you say a solution that doesn't work. And I think it's a good habit to like confirm with your interviewer if it's what they're looking for and like have a discussion rather than like just keeping everything to yourself. It's like more of a discussion in an interview. I feel like you should like treat it that way.
I think I think this will work since every point is relative to one singular point, right?
Yeah,
So there can only be one way to map this to an island. But then, is it gonna work? It's
so
so
what's
tough.
worrying you? Why do you think it couldn't work eventually or
I'm trying to
potentially?
think. I'm trying to think of a case where maybe two islands would have the same points but be different, and I'm trying to think if that is even possible with the way this is laid out, since each point here in this island has a uh, set distance, like a distance from the entry point. And I'm trying to think if the island shapes are the same, then the entry point for the DFS should also always be the same,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I agree.
So so then let's just try it, man.
Let's go,
YOLO.
man.
Uh, I'm just gonna reuse some of this code.
Yeah, you can erase the rest in your main, I guess.
Yeah. Uh, let's see, where was I on this? So these don't really count anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll just modify this really quick to just return for now. All right. And then now distinct islands. So I would need a uh, set
Hmm.
of oh, what would it be? A vector?
I can tell you, like, give you a hint. You can actually do a
Sure.
set of sets of
Can I?
pairs. Yeah, I
I
can.
didn't like a set of
Like this, yeah.
pairs. Oh wow.
That works, yeah.
I have never used
I
that
just
in
found
my
out.
life.
I'm just gonna
Uh,
give you that. I think you can
I
solve the
guess I have
rest by
to
yourself, yeah.
include perhaps okay. All right. So now with our set of sets, I guess for every one that we encounter, we'd have to make a new set of pairs of coordinates, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll call that cur for current,
Hmm.
and I will pass that down to, I'll take out this bool that we don't need anymore, and I'll replace that with the set of pairs of ints by reference. Uh, and then pass it down here. Instead of is island, we'll send down that. So that, let me just change this quick. That's gonna pass the set down to the DFS function, and it's gonna add um every point in in the DFS if it's a one. So insert RC. Uh, that needs work. I'm not done there
Okay, good.
because the points have to be relative to the entry point.
Hmm.
So I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna do that. Uh, let's see. So, uh, hmm, I guess I can have. I don't want to pass like so many things down to this function and have it accept like 5,000 parameters, but I guess you leave me no choice, and I'll put like a start R and start C. And I'll, in the beginning, it would just be RC, and it will stay constant for every call of this DFS. And I'll do some math to figure out the relative positions of R and C before I insert it into the set. So I'll call it R for relative R.
Okay.
uh, and it would be, let me get this right. It would be start minus R, or would it be R minus start? I think I'll do it like that. And then I'll have RC, C, start C, and then I'll add those into the sets. Uh, and then hopefully that works. And once we got that set, we can insert into the main set. And then the answer would just be the size of that set. Um, I'm not 100% on this, but let's just test something simple for now to see if it would give. So this would supposed to give us two different shapes. Uh, that works. Let's try it. Now that should be one shape. Oh wow.
Are you surprised?
I'm I'm actually very surprised. This is incredible. I honestly never knew I could have done like a set of sets.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Or yeah.
Like even in Python, you can't hash a set because it's mutable, so you have to convert it in a frozen set that is immutable. So I'm like surprised that it's simpler in C++. You
Yeah,
can,
that's a bit nuts.
yeah,
So
it's working. If you want to,
if this was a leak code contest, I'd submit right now.
yeah, I can send you the question so you get your
But
points.
but for an interview, I don't know. Because you're supposed to like find your own mistakes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
there's
I I
a few
rely so
things.
much on the test cases that leak code and binary search provide that I don't even think about like super edge cases,
Hmm.
but maybe I should start doing it more often.
Yeah, maybe a good habit is like trying to print out the intermediate results. So right now you just like prayed and it ended up working, but you could have like printed the output of like the current set and like actually look at the all the separate
Yeah.
results. So like trying to
Oh,
make like a better model of your solution like that. Because right now
yeah.
it's like, oh, it works, but I'm not sure why. Like
Yeah.
You understand the
I
why,
mean,
but like if you can
yeah,
see all the process on the terminal, it's more clear. Like every step is working, and here's the output of this. And like using all the visual information, you can explain it better and like make more sense of it.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
So like putting some console out statements all over
Yeah,
the place.
let's try to print every set of coordinates that we come into. So I'll do that here. Uh, in current. So for everything in current, every pair, let's print them like so. And should I put them in something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to.
So it's going to be uh let's just on a new line. No, all on the same line. I'll just put a comma in there and then I'll end the line. Let's see what happens. Okay, okay. Uh, let's make some two similar islands, two squares. Oh, look at that. They look the same.
Yeah. And yeah, for your questioning about the relative distance, I think it didn't even matter like if you subtracted start R from R or
Or
the
the other
inverse,
way. Yeah,
because
yeah,
as long as you do the same thing for every single island, you're always gonna get the same output, right?
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
But I had to think about it first for a bit.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
You can take your time in interviews and think. Try not to stay silent. Like you didn't stay silent in this interview, like at all. I think like even when you didn't know how to solve something, like you can communicate the fact that you don't know and how you're trying to fix that problem, I'd say. And you can ask questions and everything. I think you're a pretty good communicator. Like you don't have any issues on that front. Maybe some. I just laughed when you typed RR. Like in contests, maybe it's a bad habit we developed to like try typing some small variable names. But like in the real life, well, you know, you did freelancing. You try to keep like
yeah, come up with
variables clear and
meaningful
everything.
names.
So yeah, it's better not to like do some code golfing in an interview. You try to like look your best and keep everything tidy. Try to make your
Yeah,
code as modular as possible, as reusable. Because you have some questions where it's more oriented about object-oriented programming. So you have to like figure out what do I do as a function, how do I split my code, and that way it makes it like really testable. Like you can test each function separately. So here basically you have maybe like a function that is like get like the shape of the island. So you have this part. When you find a one, you could have a separate function that returns you the shape from here.
yeah,
And here I think it's fine. And like if you split it as much as possible, you could test each step separately and really like focus on testing during an interview. I think like if you focus on quality, well, it's really gonna impress the interviewer. And if you manage to make it work in time, even if you spend a lot of time like making it look good, well, it's really gonna be good for you.
all right. Yeah, I think perhaps I should yeah, use more functions.
Yeah, well, it's a small
You
problem.
know.
It really depends on the problem. Like here,
Yeah, in
it's
general
still
though, like some of my solutions are like 100 lines with crazy, like I don't really think about breaking them up while I'm doing these problems because, it's against the clock.
yeah,
But in the
exactly.
interview, it's kind of against the clock, but not as it doesn't the clock doesn't mean as much as a CP contest, you know?
Yeah. So I've had interviews where I didn't actually finish like the problem. I was just like refactoring all the time and everything, and like the interviewers are human. It's not like, oh, you didn't finish everything, you don't pass the interview. It's really like subjective. And like if you impress them in one way or another, even if like you're not maybe like super fast for algorithms, but like you have a really like structured approach and they can see like the engineering skills in you, well, you can like find other ways to impress them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Yeah. So like
All right.
for a first technical interview, I'm pretty impressed to be honest.
Oh,
My
thank you
first
very
time was
much.
really bad.
I've been studying for like 8 months now.
Yeah, it
On
shows.
like I had a bit of a break when COVID first started,
Okay,
but
okay.
you know, I've been studying, so it might be my first technical interview, but it's not like I'm not unfamiliar with these concepts at this point.
Yeah, that's
Eight
good.
months ago, I couldn't do any of this stuff. I couldn't traverse a binary tree. I couldn't do any of that fancy stuff, you know.
Reverse a linked list.
Reverse the linked list, no way. No way. None of that, man. Like
I think you're
BFS, no way.
yeah, I think you're pretty close to being ready, or you're already ready for Fang
Oh,
interviews. I think you
I'm really weak on DP, like
yeah, okay,
almost
okay.
none. Like I can't solve anything much after Fibonacci, you know.
Yeah, I see, I see.
And graphs also I'm at like level 0. So those are like the last two topics I really want to focus on before I go out there and start interviewing.
Hmm. Well, I have a few. I don't have any videos on graph theory yet, but I think I covered like a few essentials on the on binary search. At least there's like coin change, that's pretty good. There's the jump game problem that is basically a Fibonacci. But
Yeah.
like,
Ooh, I solved jump game first time like 2 days ago.
oh really? Yeah, it's a classic. So like, I think like there's really a few basic patterns that will show up really often in the interviews. Like once you figure them out, then you're like set. I'd say like
Been like there's like a mega post on Leak Code dynamic problem or dynamic programming problems.
yeah, all
Has
the
like
patterns.
5,000 upvotes or something. I've been trying to grind through that and
Yeah, I'm looking at
just
it right now.
studying. Yeah, but it's still tough. Like the DP doesn't make sense to me until I see it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's so easy. Da 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 da.
Yeah, I know what you
But
mean. It's like it's been like that for me as well. Like until I've seen like maybe like the 15 types of ways to do DP. There's like a limited set of patterns until you get to like more advanced type of problems that you meet in competitive programming. But that's not really an issue, I'd say, in interviews. But like you can like practice all those patterns. At some point, you can even like memorize them because it's always like the same thing. So I'd say it's really a hard step to do when you start doing it. But like when you did all the patterns, it's like everything looks the same after you do them.
one of the first DP problems I actually learned, besides Fibonacci, was goal gain or collect coins maximum coin path or something like that.
Oh yeah, that one's hard, I think.
Where yeah, but once when I first saw that, I was like, man, that's impossible. Like, how do these guys expect somebody to solve this problem?
Hmm.
And I saw the answer, and now it seems so easy, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It, and every time I see a problem like that, I just immediately know how to solve it without even giving it much thought. And it's just like the same pattern, and they try and mix it up with. different words or different scenarios,
Yeah. Crazy, right? All
I'm
right,
trying
then.
to oh, the that solution for distinct islands passed.
Awesome. Yes.
That's that's incredible.
You made it.
Yeah. All right. So, is
Lawrence
that
is
the
glad.
end?
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you have some finishing words to say, you want to. Do you have a YouTube channel to shout out?
Do not have anything. I have an Instagram. Check me out at Midnight Simon. But
All right, all right.
that's about it.
So I'll wish you good luck for your career, and I think you'll go
Yeah.
far.
Thanks for doing this stuff, man. I think it really helps the community.
It's my pleasure, man. It's really fun,
Um,
and it helps me as well.
yeah, it's a great thing that you're doing, and everybody's getting involved. I like that.
Mm, yeah. All
Well,
right, man.
all
Take
right,
care.
all right, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.
Peace. All right, guys. This is it. I hope you enjoyed that, and if ever you would want to participate as well, you can join my Discord, and there's a form in there that I pinned, and you can apply to participate in the interviews. I say I'm going over the most common problems, so if you ever studied like the most common interview problems, maybe you're already familiar with the questions, but I think there's still value to be had in like trying to explain it to someone, because it's really a different dynamic. You have to go slower, you have to like revisit the logic behind the problems, because sometimes maybe I have this issue as well. It's like you memorize the solution, but you forget like how to explain it correctly. So it's always a good exercise, and it's good fun. Like, so I'll leave you guys on that, and see you next time. Bye bye.